All right, y'all can stand back up. We're getting ready to worship through song. But before that, I wanted to read from Romans chapter 10, and this was a passage that we talked about on our trip. If you'll go ahead and bring that up, Luke. It's down toward the bottom. We've got a new system in here, so if we have some quirks, just bear with us. But Romans 10, but what does it say? But what does it say? The word is near you, in your mouth and in your heart. That is the word of faith which we are preaching. That if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart a person believes, resulting in righteousness, and with the mouth he confesses, resulting in salvation. For the scripture says, whoever believes in him will not be disappointed. For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek, for the same Lord is Lord of all, abounding in riches for all who call on him. For whoever will call on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? How will they believe in him whom they have not heard? And how will they hear without a preacher? How will they preach unless they are sent? Just as it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news of good things. However, they did not all heed the good news. For Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed our report? So faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Christ.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies. Till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear. Oh, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Your love has called my name. I've been born again to your family. Oh, your blood flows through my veins. 'Cause I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. You rescued me and I will stand and say I am a child of God. I am a child of God. I am a child of God. 'Cause I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. 'Cause I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. To everyone who's lost someone they love, long before it was their time, you feel like the days you had were not enough when you said goodbye. And to all of the people with burdens and pains, keeping you back from your life, you believe that there's nothing and there is no one who can make it right. There is hope for the helpless, rest for the weary, and love for the broken heart. There is grace and forgiveness, mercy and healing. He'll meet you wherever you are. Cry out to Jesus. Cry out to Jesus. For the marriage that's struggling just to hang on, they've lost all of their faith and love, and they've done all they can to make it right again. Still it's not enough. For the ones who can't break the addictions and chains, you try to give up, but you come back again. Just remember that you're not alone in your shame and your suffering. There is hope for the helpless, rest for the weary, and love for the broken heart. There is grace and forgiveness, mercy and healing. He'll meet you wherever you are. Cry out to Jesus. When you're lonely and it feels like the whole world is falling on you, you just reach out, you just cry out to Jesus. Cry to Jesus. To the widow who suffers from being alone, wiping the tears from her eyes. To the children around the world without a home, say a prayer tonight. There is hope for the helpless, rest for the weary, and love for the broken heart. There is grace and forgiveness, mercy and healing. He'll meet you wherever you are. There is hope for forgiven, because you were forsaken. I'm accepted, you were condemned. I'm alive and well, your spirit is within me, because you died and rose again. Amazing love, how can it be that you, my King, should die for me? Amazing love, I know it's true. It's my joy to honor you in all I do. I honor you. I'm forgiven because you were forsaken. I'm accepted, you were condemned. I'm alive and well, your spirit is within me, because you died and rose again. Amazing love, how can it be that you, my King, should die for me? Amazing love, I know it's true. It's my joy to honor you in all I do. I honor you. You are my King. You are my King. Jesus, you are my King. You are my King. Jesus, you are my King. You are my King. Jesus, you are my King. You are my amazing love. How can it be that you, my King, should die for me? Amazing love, I know it's true. It's my joy to honor you in all I do. I honor you in all I do. I honor you in all I do. I honor you. Amazing love, how can it be that you, my King, should die for me? Amazing love, I know it's true. It's my joy to honor you in all I do. I honor you in all I do. Let me honor you. You can be seated.
Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching reason for living. Can you feel the hope that's rushing in? Can you hear the song that's echoing? Join with the choir as they sing. This is where love truly begins. For God is with us. God is with us. Can you see that God is with us? Can you see it? Can you hear it? God is with us. Can you feel it? I can feel it. Can you feel it? God is with us. Can you hear it? Can you see it? I can feel that God is with us.
All right. Colin put a lot of hard work into that, so Colin, thank you very much for doing that. Did a great job. Let's thank him again. Yep. So we've been to Hendersonville on the Bible school 18 times. And you would say, well, if you've been 18 times, you've surely experienced everything that there is to experience. But that's not true. And as the only person who's been on all of them, I can tell you this year was complete with struggles that we've never had before. But it was amazing to see how everyone adapted and how God worked through the struggles that we faced. And, you know, people have asked me before, why do you keep going to Hendersonville? Well, the reason is that God has kept the door open. When we first started going to Hendersonville, it was pastored by a man named Mike Engel, and he was an amazing man. The church was a certain way, certain attendance, basically a white church, and now we're serving with the Hispanic church. It's in the same building. And you could see from the pictures, there were all different races. We had to have Philippe translating many times. It was just a blessing to have him. There was several students who didn't speak any English. So when you have a Bible school and you have people show up and they don't even speak the language that you're speaking, those were some of the things that we had to figure out. And just to see God work and to bring things together and how he's partnered us with the church there. And there's only one, basically this one lady came up to me and she said, I'm the only American in this church. The only native English speaking, I guess you would say, person in the church. And everybody else is Hispanic. And it doesn't matter because we're one in Christ. And we all serve together. And for the first time since we've been working with them, we really partnered together in the mission. But I'm just going to share briefly, and then we'll get on to the youth and the leaders. This trip took on a special significance because of all that happened. But I want to bring this out to you to help remind us why we do missions. Why are we involved in this? This email came about a week after we got back. And this random person, and we don't even know who this person is. We don't have their email. It just came in. It went to Nancy, and she sent it to me. It says, prayers for my neighbor and family. Her daughter's memorial celebration of life service is tomorrow. This was last Saturday. The family is not saved, but the daughter, Jaden, had asked Jesus into her heart. Prayers that her family will come to know and have a relationship with Jesus. I have never been to your church. I love and pray for each of you that we may continue to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Thank you for your mission trip to Hendo each year. My kids attend and Jaden attended. Thank you so much. So I got that and I'm like, who is Jaden? Because there was no last name, so I started searching through the records and talking to the other people from the group, and we find out that Jaden is right here. Jaden passed away in June, and they had the service this past Saturday. Now, she had had a heart transplant when she was, I think, about 6 years old. And I found her phone number, her mom's phone number, and I called her a few days ago. And she told me that basically the cause of death was cardiac arrest, but basically the heart just gave out. And she was 8th grade, and she passed away. And I was able to share with the mom and express our condolences and let her know that we're here for them and we would do anything that we could. But this young girl was saved through the Bible school. And her family is not saved. And I want to read you this. Jaden Alicia Cash, 12, of East Flat Rock, passed away on Wednesday, June 8th, following complications of a heart transplant. Jaden received the gift of a new heart in October 2015, and was able to have 7 years of a relatively healthy life. In recent weeks, she began having some rejection issues, causing her death on June 8th. Jaden was a typical teenager. She loved her friends and hanging out at the park, always drawing, doodling, or painting. Jaden loved any kind of art. She was an upcoming 8th grader at Flat Rock Middle School. Left to cherish her memory is her mom, Rachel Hill, siblings Tatum Hill, Zoe, Tasha, Takaya, Ethan, and Angel, special sister Taylor, grandmother Laura, and other relatives. She was preceded in death by her little brother, Deshaun Cash, in 2014. So this girl had received a heart transplant, and that heart gave out. But the most important thing is she had received a new heart through salvation. She had received a gift that will never give out. And when I saw this, it reminded me of why we do what we do. Because many of these kids, we don't see the parents. We don't know what kind of situation they're coming from. But through your investment, through your support, God saved this girl. And we must continue the mission. Because Jaden is just one example of many who are moving into eternity every second. And so I wanted to share that with you and just encourage you with that, because that's the awesome opportunity that we get to be part of. And that's what Hendersonville is all about. We do a lot of stuff, but it's about helping people come to know the Lord Jesus Christ. And most of the time, we don't know about stuff like this. We don't know how things end up, because we see the kids, we invest in them, they're there a few years, and then we don't know, and we won't know till heaven. But God gave us a glimpse into this year. And the last thing I want to share, Pam Morrell was on the trip as a counselor, and this was Pam's last Hendersonville. She's gone 15 years in a row, and that's amazing. Her last child graduated a number of years ago, but she went from 2008 all the way to now. And she'll be here in September, but she wrote this note, and I wanted to read it to you. This was a very hard note to write. I can't believe it's been such a long time. Seems like just yesterday we went on my first trip. What a blessing to have been able to go with Oakview Youth and their leader. Through the years, it has been a new trip every year. How wonderful to see the different youth that have come over the years and to see their growth in the Lord from year to year. Thankful to have been a part of the mission through the years. Robert, you have been faithful to the Lord for working with and through the youth and making this trip possible and keeping them focused on the reason we go and do what we do. Thank you for your service to the Lord over the many years. As I think about this last trip, it was the best yet. The youth, even though they were obstacles to overcome, they continued to work together with one goal in mind: to serve the Lord. Crafts were great. The leaders were wonderful at helping. Two things that stick out to me from this year: one day with the devotion that we were doing in the morning, that we were doing service projects, the youth were so engaged and had some great insight on the scriptures we were reading. Would have made some parents proud to hear them share. Love being part of that time together. And just one more thing. On the last day of VBS, I was taking some youth home, and there was 3 that I picked up the last few years. One of the young men, Anthony was his name, said to me, quote, "You know, one journey has to end for a new one to begin." This is coming from one of the kids. I had not told him that it was my last trip, but how fitting to come from his mouth. The Lord uses all sorts of people to speak to us, and I do believe that the Lord was telling me he is in control. So thanks for allowing me to be part of this amazing trip throughout the years. May God continue to use all of you for his glory. So I want to thank Pam for her investment and tell you, Pam's not stopping going because she doesn't want to go. Pam has a father that has cancer. She has a mother who has dementia. She has a father-in-law who lives with her and her husband. She has a 3rd grandchild on the way. And she's getting older. And it just doesn't, it's not going to work for her to continue to go. But I told her, I said, Pam, you are not like some people that they just stop serving and they don't do anything. She teaches Sunday school in the youth ministry at her church. She serves in many ways, and she's a great example. And so I just want to thank her, and we'll do that in a more official way in September. So what we're going to do is each group is going to come up that served in the Bible school, and we're going to start with the youth class. And after the youth class, we'll go in the classes from youngest to oldest. And then after the 4th through 6th grade, we'll have rec, then music, then refreshments, and then audio visual. So youth class, then the classes from youngest to oldest, then rec, music, refreshments, and AV. So I'm going to ask Mary and Ryan and Allie if they'll come up and get us started.
Hey guys, so I think I can say it every year, but this was like my favorite trip. And I think I say that every year because every year you guys continue to astound us with just your service and the way that you come together. And this year, more than most, because we faced a lot of obstacles, but we won't go into those. One thing that I really got out of this trip was in sharing with the youth group. We've got some kids that are coming, and they've been coming for years, and then we've got some people that we've never seen. And in sharing with them, we also had another first. Rob taught in our class for the first time, I think, ever at Hendersonville. And he had it planned out, and you know Rob went in with being fully prepared. Well, in some of the questions, it quickly became apparent that they really didn't understand the gospel. They really didn't understand how you get to heaven. They didn't understand that it's not by good works. It's not by the good deeds. It's not by being a good person. So while Rob did not completely scrap his plans, it was the perfect opportunity for him to just step in and really dive deep into the gospel and sharing the love of Jesus and sharing that the proper way, not proper, but the only way to get to your salvation. And I was just sort of impressed that God led us and had that opportunity to happen, but it also became apparent that we were being attacked while it was happening. And I won't go into all the details, but there was a lot going on to the point that I went home that night or went back to our place that night, and I got several prayer warriors behind us saying, look, this is going to apparently continue happening all week, so please start praying for us, especially during VBS. And the next night, I tear up every time, but the next night you could really tell that we were feeling their prayers. And we were able, again, to have the perfect opportunity to share the gospel every single night in youth. Now, while we didn't have anybody come and profess to us that they were accepting Jesus into their heart, we did have a lot of really good questions and a lot of really good conversations come out of that. So I guess between that and Jaden, who I remember being in my class a couple of years ago, I guess you just can't assume what's going on with somebody. You can't assume, hey, these people have been coming to Bible school every year. Hey, these people have been going to church every year. Hey, these people, we see them all the time. You can't assume that. So when God looks at you and says, no, say the gospel right now. Like, stop what you're doing and say the gospel. Talk to them about it. Just follow God's direction on that, because you just don't know. I mean, this girl was, 12 years old. You just don't know what's going to happen. So that was the highlight of my experience, I think.
So this was my 3rd year going to Hendersonville, and when Robert told me I was teaching the youth class, I was very nervous because I was nervous to teach kids older than me, the same age as me. But like Mary said, I won't go into deep detail, but there is many things that happened throughout the week that were like stumbling blocks, and I even went up to Mary like multiple times and was like, I'm so nervous like to teach, and I feel like they're not going to listen to me. But one girl in particular, her name was Valentina, and I still talk to her. She just kept bringing up how she loved my Bible and she wanted to learn more about the Lord. And I know Robert posted a few questions that like she had about the Lord, and she just seemed so engaged, and it made the whole trip worth it. And not just her, but like a few other girls and guys would always speak up and would always just make the trip so much better. And also, I always say this every year, but I got to get closer with a lot of the older kids like Kristen and Dakota when playing cards. But yeah, it was a really fun trip, and I suggest that if you haven't gone, you try to go next year.
So this is my 4th Hendersonville trip, and it was amazing. I've never been on a trip though that's been more stressful and challenging, and it was really cool to see the group work through those challenges. It was just a lot of people were having to go in and out of classes, and I was supposed to help with youth originally, and I only ended up spending 1 night in youth, and I spent 1 night in rec and 3 nights in K through 1st. And so I just got to kind of look around at all the different kids that were there, and kind of see all the attitudes. And it's definitely different. Like in youth, I could see they were more mature, but also some of them were less mature. And then down in K through 1st, none of them were listening. So I guess at the end of the week, really what God showed me was 2 things in my life. One is that I need to serve more, and I need to be open more about my faith and look for ways to serve rather than just be asked all the time. And so that's definitely one of the challenges I took away from Hendersonville and what I've still been trying to apply to my life. And then the second thing is share the gospel constantly, live it out in your life, because even when you don't think they're listening, they're listening. We had a kid in our class named Anakai who was pretty off the wall, and he was crazy. But at the end of the week, I asked him what his favorite part was, and all week he'd said he hated it and he wanted to go home, but he just kept coming. And at the end of the week, I asked him what his favorite part was, and he said that he really loved the whole VBS, and his favorite part was getting saved. And what he thought was getting saved was Dakota talked to him, shared the gospel, and I don't know what happened in his heart. He might be saved, but it was really Dakota talked to him in jail, which was where we put him when he was acting bad. It was behind the baby gate. Dakota was there to babysit him. Dakota was telling him about the gospel. And apparently later that night he went home and prayed to God to get saved. And so just nobody had known about it until the end of the week when I had asked him. And that really shows that even when you don't think the kids are listening, because Anakai, you could tell it was in one ear, not the other. And it was just crazy that he was saved on that trip. So constantly share, constantly live it out, and people will see it. So yeah.
I want to add one thing to that, because the kids, it was some of the worst behaved kids I've ever had in the Bible school. And normally I can think of a few kids through the years that they brought to me that I've had to handle. And normally I just talk to them and they are okay. Well, this year it was like 4 or 5 living terrors. And I did, like, there's this room that's for the youngest kids, and it has this gate. And so you can keep the kids in. So I would just pick them up, take them in there, put them in there, and shut the gate. And I was like, you're staying in here until you learn how to behave. And I mean, it was just crazy. And one of them would sit in there and scream. One of them would go in there, and one of them just went over to the desk and sat down and started drawing. I mean, you know, and was quiet. But it was like, I have never dealt with stuff like that at Hendersonville. And the thing about somebody getting saved is there's going to be a change in their life. Well, I call him Anakin, but what Ryan was saying, Anakai, he was a living terror the first 3 nights. The last 2 nights, he got saved. Because that boy was totally different. He was behaved. He listened. In the van the night I picked him up and took him home, and the next to last night, I said, you have been awesome tonight. And he was like, I'm going to go tell my mom. You know, I want her, you know, he wanted her to know. And I'm sitting, I'm like, who is this person? and then he was saying, I got saved in jail. I got saved in jail. And so it was just awesome just to see that. So anyway, Gavin, you and Soleil, come on up. And they were teaching in jail, so.
Hey, I just want to say this year at Hendersonville was really fun. My third year, and it was by far, like, I don't know, it was really fun, but all the kids were really misbehaved, as everybody has been saying. Like, running out the door, up and down the stairs, trying to interrupt the youth class. I don't know. They were a mess, and since they were anywhere from the ages of 3 to 5, you weren't really sure if they were listening. But it was like, I was really happy by the end of the week when one of the kids just started spouting out all 5 stories, like word for word, which that made me feel really good considering, like I said, they were not listening. It was a mess, and half of them like said they hated me basically, but a little bit of candy bribery, it worked out. Anyway, so that's lots of fun. Whoever didn't go, you should go. That's lots of fun. Gavin?
So lesson learned, bribery always works. It was a good trip, except for the days I got sick. That was bad, but other, Applebee's. What about Applebee's? Okay, yeah. But other than that, had fun serving. Yeah, as she said, the kids were not too behaved, but it worked out. Yeah.
What's up? This was my first year going to Hendersonville, and like Roger said, Applebee's is cursed. That's where I started getting sick. I was sick for 2 nights of VBS, which really was terrible, and I want to thank Ryan Bond for covering for me then. Yeah, just don't go to Applebee's. It's terrible. Not trying to like screw them over or anything, but that's where everyone gets sick. Okay, don't go there. So I was sick for the 2nd and the 3rd night of VBS, and honestly, I kind of saw this as a good thing later because I like listen to everyone else getting frustrated and everything, and that's something that happens to me really easily. I get frustrated with people when things don't go right or people are not listening. So I kind of had 2 days to prepare for my lessons because I had the last 2 days teaching. So I was teaching Wednesday and Thursday. So it was kind of preparing me there so I didn't have to deal with the kids. I wouldn't say deal. That's a bad word for that. But I wasn't there Tuesday and Wednesday because I was sick in my bed. Literally couldn't move. It was terrible. But anyway, the lessons went good. The first night they semi-listened. And the second night it was just, no one was listening. They were all out of it. But even though most of them weren't listening, there were still your select few kids that were listening, asking questions. They were actually interested. So we did still have a few kids listening, which was a good thing. And even though, like, they're still hearing you when you're talking, even if they're talking over you, so it still plants a seed when you're talking to them. So it's not, everything is just, you still got some of that stuff in their brains. So some of it kind of sticks, but it was a good trip besides be getting sick along with other people, which is probably my fault. But we're not going to talk about that.
Hi, I'm Cassie, and it was my 3rd year in Hendersonville. It was, as everybody else has said, it was chaotic. And we had like 4 or 5 misbehaving kids just in our class. We were the kindergarten and 1st graders. It was so bad that we actually had to have Ryan come in and help out. And one of the main things that he did is chase down Anakai and take care of Tegan, which was his sister. And so Anakai got saved one of the nights. I think it was like the 3rd night. And we actually had to, I'm going to say threaten. It wasn't really threatening him. The 4th and 5th night for Mom to hold his hand the whole night. And it really helped him. And it was funny because the 5th night, he actually started hitting kids with the inflatable crayons that we brought. And he was like, I was like, oh no, Anna, we shouldn't do that. That's sin like we talked about. And he was like, it's okay, I can sin. I'm saved now. So we did have to talk about that a bit. It was a lot. I was sick the 3rd night, and that was my teaching night. And I think it was Ryan that taught my lesson. It was really helpful. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. But it was a lot of fun, and I would definitely advise going.
All right, hey y'all, this was like my this was like my 2nd year with my 6th grade year, but yeah, this was definitely like a fun trip. If you didn't go, I advise you going. It's a lot of fun. Not only do you grow with like the kids and the youth and whatnot, but you also grow closer to God. We taught 2nd and 3rd. I wouldn't say the kids were awful, but like the last day they were like, I can't even explain how off the walls they were. But no, they listened most of the time. They had some interesting questions of like, I remember one girl was like, are y'all Christian? We were like, yeah. And she was like, I want to be a Christian too because y'all are so nice, or something like that. One of the other boys was like, I don't want to be a Christian. And we were like, we asked him why. Took a couple of times, but he was like, people are mean to Christians. And so we had to explain to him like why, or like God will protect us whether or not people are mean to us. But yeah, I definitely advise you going. I was sick like 2nd to last night. It was awful. But yeah, if you didn't go this year, I really advise you going. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so we had probably the angels of the group that came. Like, we got done with our first night, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, our kids. Jay Bella bolted out the door. Anna Kai was rough to deal with, all of that. And I'm just over here like, my children were sweethearts. Like, I don't know what class you had, but they were awesome. And we just had really sweet kids, except for like the last night where they were really wound up and rowdy. But we were able to work through it, and it was hard because there were a lot of people there, but we did it, and we handled it well. I had a couple kids that stuck out. I had a girl named Cece who started talking to me during rec one day, and she was just kind of like, I could tell she really wanted to talk about something. And so I kind of asked, does it relate to the lesson? And she's like, no. I'm like, is it related to God? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, what is it? And she wanted to tell me about her family and about how her mom and her live with her grandparents and how their family business is a like small circus. And it was just very interesting. And she just wanted to ask me to pray for them to get their own house and everything, and her mom to get a well-paying job and stuff, and that meant a lot to me that she asked me. And then I also had a girl named Kennedy who most of the kids we had, you could tell they had some kind of church knowledge or Bible knowledge, but she knew absolutely nothing related to God. And so I had a couple good conversations, just explained simple Bible stories like the Noah's Ark mural and stuff like that. And it was really good, and she was the girl that was just very happy that we were there, and she was excited to come every night, and she talked about wanting to be a Christian because we were so nice and everything. And then Malachi, which was the kid that said he didn't want to be a Christian because Christians get bullied and people are mean to them. And I got to explain some situations I had gone through and just how it's worth it and everything, and kind of explain the gospel to him and stuff. But I had, as an example of like why you should go, we had two college age guys, two brothers, Ethan and Hunter, who had gone through the VBS a couple of years and had grown up in it and everything. And Hunter really wanted to talk to me once he found out I was an Eisenman. I was kind of confused by that.
And he wanted to share with me that my older brothers, when they went, they meant a lot to him and were the ones that kind of made him want to work with youth and to be, kind of helped him be more outgoing and everything. And they meant a lot to him, even though my brothers didn't remember him at first. They had stuck out to him and meant a lot to him. So he got to share that with me, and it was a really great trip. Like, we had a lot of challenges with people getting sick and hard to behave kids and stuff like that, but it's worth the time and the money and the effort to go. So I encourage anyone that's interested to look into it and come next year.
All right. I'm Colin. If you don't know me, this is my 5th year going to Hendersonville. You know, every year's been a different experience. I've learned a lot through all the years, but I've never learned as much as I did this year. But, you know, truthfully, this is the first year I've been real, like, serious in my faith going. So, you know, it really opened my eyes a lot. And, you know, my big takeaway from this was kind of like I envisioned myself as like Peter stepping out of the boat looking at Jesus. Because this is my first year teaching a class, like, fully. Because last year I went and I was videoing and, you know, I just kind of wasn't really there. And I taught one lesson, but, you know, did I really teach it or not? You know, I was just kind of there speaking what I wrote down. It was kind of half written. But, you know, I learned a lot this year. Jesse started talking to some girls outside of the house we were at one night about the gospel, and, you know, that kind of helped. I went out there and kind of talked with them too, and it helped me to kind of go out on a limb there. And, you know, teaching the classes, I had to trust in God a lot because, you know, I'm not, in my brain before this trip, I wasn't a very confident teacher at all. And now that I come out of it, I'm a lot more confident in my teaching, and, you know, I'm a lot closer with people that are in the youth group, and I feel like more of a part of the youth group than I used to be. You know, I was kind of trying to separate myself in the past. The kids were kind of rough. We had some kids that were crazy, you know, one of them hit each other in the eyes with like rolls of wallpaper or something, and they were beating each other up. I mean, it was wild. One of them was taking everybody's name tags. You saw his picture on he was grabbing everybody's name tags. He had like 15 name tags at the end of the night. I mean, couldn't get him to sit still. They were, it was just wild. I mean, I don't even remember all of it, but, you know, it was fun and we learned a lot, and I encourage you to go if you haven't gone before. It's really a growing experience, and it's fun too. You know, you get to hang out with everybody, so.
Clap for him. Okay. So our kids were really hard. Actually, no, they weren't. About like 4 of them were. One of them calmed down when I found out he didn't speak English, and so when I spoke to him in Spanish, he was well behaved. The other, I talked to his mother, and that set him straight. And then they were mostly well behaved by the last night. But you know, ministry isn't easy. If you think, you know, we're taught to love orphans and widows, and we're also taught to love sinners, but those 3 groups are often one and the same. And it's just really important to remember that regardless of a person's morality, they still need the gospel any more than you did. And in Romans 1, Paul is talking about the Roman Empire, how terrible it was, how mean everyone was, how disgusting it all was. And then, as he goes on and on, you, the reader, are you know, cheering for him. Yeah, you say it how it is. And then he says, any one of you who judges these people, you know, you were one of them at one point too before you were saved. And so it's very important to remember that even though people and ministry are hard, impossible even, that you know, his power is perfected in weakness, and that when you are weak, the Spirit is in you and is stronger. And so, but I'll tell you one cute story, one nice story about one of the kids. I had a girl named Sarah, Philip's younger brother, and so she was Ukrainian, right? And so every day she would give me a new word to learn. She was something like Bilmonye, and I could not pronounce that for the life of me. And I said, Sarah, can you write that down? And she wrote it down, and it was written in Russian, right? And I said, Sarah, I can't read that. Can you write it in the Latin alphabet, the English alphabet? And so she did, and then she handed me, and it said A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and so yeah. But that was a good story about the kids. We had some good apples. So thank you for Colin and Iris for helping me corral the beast.
This was my second year of going to Hendersonville, and the kids were crazy. Everyone said that the kids were crazy. The kids were crazy. We had kids who would, during PE, one of our kids ran, because you gotta know the layout of the church. There's a parking lot thing with like gravel on it, and that's where we did PE. So it's like here, and then there's a road, there's a house, and there's another house with a large lawn. And our kid just went, and bolted right down. And my brother, wherever he is, right there, he went and chased him, which was helpful. Thank you. Yeah. But the kids were crazy. But I don't think that I've ever felt as close as I have to the youth group in any other trip or thing that we've done. We had a lot of good talks at the girls' house with Soleil, Cassie, Laurel, and Miss Mary and Miss Anderson. And Soleil. Did I say Soleil? Yeah. We had a lot of good talks, and I felt like I really grew in my faith this year. And if you haven't gone, I suggest that you try and go next year.
As Felipe and Ryan are coming up, I want to interject this. We were in the van one night, and one of the girls behind me was talking. And just to give you an idea of some of the kids we're dealing with, she said, my mom has 9 children, and only me and my brother have the same dad. And I didn't know what to think. And it was just, it just gives you an example of some of the home situations. And also they mentioned Valentina. Her family moved from Nicaragua. And when they do what? Colombia. And when they got to the United States, they had nowhere to live, so they lived at the church. And the church put a shower in the bathroom just so they would have somewhere to take a shower. Because when we got to the church, I was like, why is there a shower in the bathroom? And it's because that family lived in the church for 3 months. And so Valentina, that night said, the first night she said, I've got these questions. And she brought her phone out and had a note where she had like 25 questions. And I said, well, we'll talk about that. And she ended up texting them to me last week, and I answered all of them. And it was amazing stuff, like deep theological questions. And she really wanted to serve the Lord. And then the last thing, Colin mentioned that they were sharing, we were eating at one house, and we had 2 houses. And I sent Jesse to go get some stuff for the salad, I think it was, and he didn't come back. It was like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm like, what is going on? So I sent Colin to go get the stuff. And then 5 minutes, 10 minutes, Colin didn't come back. What is going on? Well, they were out on the street in the middle of the road sharing with the owner of the cottage, his daughter and friend or whatever, about the Lord. And that's why they were out there so long. So they took advantage of an opportunity that the Lord gave them.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I did rec, and I kind of got to be with all of the kids, so they were wild, but I felt like we could somewhat corral them. But I can't really take any of the full appreciation for it. I can really only thank Ryan, Bond, Jesse, and Felipe for it, because they were everywhere just helping with me, and all the other leaders, because they were just going around with me and keeping all the kids contained and just helping me and Felipe control the kids. So
So, I'm not really sure what I'm going to share. There was a lot that was going on in this trip. I think we can start with, I was supposed to be rec, but I think I was only in rec like 2 nights, maybe just 1 night, something like that. Because first night happened, we had 3 youth, 2 of them didn't speak English. So it's like, what do you do with that? So I think for what I really got out of the trip, and kind of going into the trip, so for those of you that don't know, there were 3 of us, so me, Dakota, and Jesse. We actually went on a mission trip right before Hendersonville, and then left like less than 12 hours later for Hendersonville. So I think we were pretty tired, pretty out of it. But for me, it was just learning how to trust and rely on God for strength. So for our VBS, we did Ephesians 2:10. There was a motto: create, design, empower. But this idea how God empowers us to do His will. He empowers us to do the work He wants us to do. And I felt like that's something that God did and that He provided and sustained. I think a great example is I brought a Spanish-English Bible that probably would have never happened if I didn't give my Bible away the trip before and not have a Bible. So I was like, I guess I'll bring this Bible because I don't have another Bible. Also, the fact that I went home that night when I wasn't planning originally, things led to me, I had to go home that night. So all of that led to me having a Spanish-English Bible. Well, now I got to teach Spanish. I ended up having to teach a whole lesson in Spanish to the kids. Ended up sharing the gospel. So I don't know how that ended up. But having to do that all in Spanish, where I'm like, I haven't done this before. This is not easy. But it's this idea of relying and trusting in God. So I think that's the biggest thing I got out. I do want to lift Ryan up. I think Ryan did a great job this trip, especially considering the first night when I had to just disappear. And we were like, well, Ryan, you got this. I think that was the night you had to run after the kid, too. So I think everybody that was on the trip, I think everybody did a really excellent job throughout all the difficulties. It's interesting how the difficulties come up. I remember last year, we had a lot of just spiritual, things going on. Lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. This trip was much of the same, and not just spiritual, but there was also physical things going on. So we worked through it all, which is pretty great. I don't know who's next. Is it music?
Hey guys, so this is my 2nd year and I did music. Me and Ben did music, but I don't think he's here tonight. I've never done music before, so I don't know what I was expecting, but it was not that. My kids would tell me that they hated my class. One time a whole class booed at me when I walked in the room. They only wanted my candy, it felt like. And it just felt like me and Ben and some of the leaders were dancing, and the kids would just sit there and stare at you and do nothing. And then I cannot fathom how awkward it was for the longest time. But as the week went on, we found ways to improve it. So we moved the class indoors so they weren't as distracted, and I ended up putting up dancing videos because they would follow someone else and not me. And they ended up participating more and more. But for a good while, I just felt like my class was kind of useless because I didn't feel like they were learning anything. But I was using a song that I thought everyone knew, and that's the B-I-B-L-E. But the kids did not know what that song was, and I asked them if they knew what the Bible was, and none of them did. So I guess I got to explain to them what that was, and I think even though I didn't feel like anyone got saved through my class individually, I think that we were planting the seed, and hopefully it'll grow and grow throughout their life. So, yeah.
So this was my 7th time going, and it was it was really amazing experience. I was able to work with Snack this year, and so it was really good.
Patience and perseverance, those are the two words that have come to my mind through this entire trip. Persecution, too, because Satan was trying to show up. Listen, Romans 5:3-5 says, "And not only this, but we also exult in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance, and perseverance proving character, and proving character hope, and hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out within our hearts through the Holy Spirit who was given to us." Case in point. Case in point. You heard all the people get up here and talk about being sick. That is Satan attacking because we are doing the work of God. You guys are doing the work of God. Carly-Ann, teaching about the Bible and getting to sing a song that we take for granted, I think is eye-opening, but never, never underestimate the influence you get to have on somebody just by being nice, or persevering. I remember the first time I did Hendersonville, I was like, oh, I'm just doing snacks. You know, like, I get that feeling. You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to influence kids? But guys, Anthony, we mentioned earlier, came up to me and he was so proud. Last year I bought him a book, a sketchbook, because he was writing in just a line spiral book, and I was like, yo, you're really good. So I bought him and another boy a sketchbook and brought it back the next night, and I was like, when I come back next year, I want to see your drawings. Do you know he brought his book back? And he was showing me some of the drawings in there, and the book's almost full, and he was so proud and excited to get to show me. I got to be a part of feeding someone, not even just the word, but just encouragement that he might not get elsewhere. You guys have made us so proud, because it really was a rough week in the sense of many challenges, but you guys persevered and overcame, and that makes leaders really proud of you guys to watch that. And I can only imagine if you shared that with your parents, how they must feel about you. I love going on this trip because this is, I'm sorry, the emotion's continuing, but even as Iris said, as a leader, sometimes you don't feel like you get as close with everybody in the youth group. You have your small group or whoever you're helping or you get to be a part of. But on this trip, you get to have different interactions with different people. And people like Ryan and Jesse were being thrown all over the place, but they made us so proud because they just grinned and bared it. They're like, okay, sure, we'll go here tonight, we'll do whatever. But we had fun at our house, and we did have some serious talks. But even with other people I wouldn't necessarily have the opportunities to get connected with, I really appreciate and cherish those times. So anybody that got to ride in my van with me, just know any time I get with you means a lot to me. Because I really love you guys. It's so fun to watch you grow and change and be challenged and overcome. So I say keep fighting the good fight. And you continue to encourage each other through thick and thin, guys, because I could never be prouder of a group of kids than this group right here. Like, I wish I had a youth group like this when I was growing up. So please take advantage of it in a good way, what you guys have here, because this is a wonderful group of people. I love you guys.
So this year I wasn't doing a class, I was doing pictures. I mean, it was aight. But I taught one class, it was aight. I mean, they paid attention for like the first half, and then the other half they didn't really pay attention. But I think they got something from it because the one girl that was in my class, she kept on saying, like, whenever people at different classes would bring up whatever about what you learned, she kept on saying about how, like, they laid palm trees on the road or whatever, and she didn't know that or whatever. But probably one of the other things that we did that was kind of cool was going to the nursing home. Colin was a grill master, and he got to share with one of the guys there that was like was supposed to be part of the NFL. Then something happened. I had to play guitar for them, and like no one sang, but that was alright. And probably my favorite part was hitting licks with Dakota and Ryan on tech decks.
So there's like plenty of stories from this week, but just starting off, as Felipe was saying earlier, man, it was long because we had just got off LaGrange that Thursday, and then at 5:30 in the morning, I'm doing laundry to go to Hendersonville. That Friday we left, and then I wouldn't come home for like another week. So it was a long 2 weeks, and the first 3 or 4 days were tiring as all get out. That's not what's important. So I was doing video the whole week, and I mean, honestly, being able to like see all the kids interact with the youth and the youth interact with the kids, it was just amazing because they handled it very well. And I mean, I just couldn't like, agree with who went more, I mean, even though the kids were quite something, we've heard it about a billion times, they were rowdy and everything else, but I mean, they handled it very well for the most part. But I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind about the week is Anakai. And I don't know what this kid was doing, like Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was like Tuesday. I don't know what this kid was doing. But Robert, like, goes over there and yanks this dude out of the group. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm standing there. I was like, do I get this on camera or what? No, I'm just kidding. And so he, like, yanks him over there and, like, takes him into the jail room. And so I was just like, okay. And I'm still standing there. And Rob's like, go take that kid some water or something. And I was like, okay. So I go in there, take him some water. And then I just noticed he wasn't really sitting in there. He was, like, walking around, messing with all this stuff. And I was like, all right, well, let me do something with this kid before he like goes in here and tries to mess the room up or something. And so I opened the gate and went in there, and I'm sitting down, and I was like, dude, do you act this way like at home? Because I mean, something like when I was his age, I was pretty rowdy too, and he was like, no, my sister Tegan always gets me in trouble, and I was like, yeah, okay, she's like a year younger than you, right? Of course she gets you in trouble. That's how younger siblings are. And so anyways, I just started talking, and he saw the picture, because, VBS, you got the little poster pictures that you put up on the wall. He saw the picture of Samuel anointing David, and he asked me this question. He said, why is that man pouring beer on David's head? And I was like, dude, what? I didn't catch what he said at first. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? And I looked over, because I was sitting on the ground, he's sitting in the one chair that was in the room. And I looked over, and I saw the picture that he was talking about. And I was like, oh, this. And so I was like, Anakai, that's not beer. And when he said that, it immediately, for me, took me back to when I was a kid, because my dad drank like a case of beer every night. And so that was like how I grew up for a few years. But, so I knew, like, when he said that, I knew exactly what was going on in his house. A lot of beer drinking, probably. That was something I could identify with. But I was like, Anakai, I had to tell him, I was like, it's not beer, it's oil. And I just started there, and I was like, Jesus wouldn't be here, like, physically, if David had never been created. I mean, because you have to have David and then all his descendants to get to Jesus, And so I had to explain that to him. Then I had to explain to him that, we do bad things. Everybody does bad things, right? And those bad things upset God. I mean, he was like 5, something like that, 6. So, I had to explain it in very basic terms, that the things we do wrong, they upset God, right? But that's why Jesus was sent here on the earth to bring redemption. I mean, I didn't use that word redemption. I don't even know what word I used. But I just thought, I was like, look, this is how, we have a relationship with God, just like you would have a relationship with your parents, right? So I told him all that, and It was literally 2 minutes before I was supposed to be back upstairs. And I didn't even know it because I thought we had like plenty of time. And so he asked me, he was like, so how do you accept Christ in your heart? I was like, oh, that question. Because I was not expecting him to ask anything like that at all, you know? And so I was just like, I mean, it's simple. I mean, you can pray a prayer, but you have to actually like mean what you say. And then you have to live it out. So I guess for the most part, he was trying to live it out. The rest of the week, I don't know, whose class was he in? Raise your hand. Anakai was in your class? Yeah, so I mean, was he good the rest of the week? I don't know. His sister was a menace. And then, Colin, who was that kid in your class with all the stickers? Jose? So it was Jose? He was another kid that stood out to me because like every time I'd come around with the camera, and I'm pretty sure like every time I came around with the camera in every class, I was distracting because I mean it's kind of hard not to be. But Jose, like specifically, him and Melion, right? Is that his name? Those two, like, man, I guess whenever I was around, they were just so excited to like see me, I guess, because I had the camera. I don't know. But I feel like they really wanted somebody to talk to. They really wanted somebody to hang out with. And now I don't know if Jose really wanted to be there or not, but I hope he got something out of it. I hope all the kids got something out of it, like Anakai did. And I remember I was sitting in there the last day with the parents and everybody there. It's Thursday, I guess. And Ra was like, go get some interviews with the kids. Well, I get one with Jose, I get one with a few of the other kids, and then I eventually get around to Anakai. And I was like, all right, so what's your favorite part of VBS? And he was like, lunch, or the snack, or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's fair. That's probably something I would have said. Well, then like 30 minutes later, Ryan comes around, and he's like, yeah, Anakai said his favorite part was like when you hope to get saved. And I was like, why didn't he tell me that? Like, he could have just said that on video. But, I don't know, I guess the thing is, like, you don't always see, like, the fruit of your work when you're doing it. Sometimes you do, 98% of the times you don't. But it's great to invest in the kids, especially if you don't know what's going on. Like, you got all the Hispanic kids coming in, and there was quite a few of them that don't know English. And I remember one night you took, like, a whole group by yourself and did a Bible study with them. So, I mean, it was just amazing seeing how, the groups happen and then the ways that the kids were invested in there. So, I'm the last person, right? Let's roll.
We saw 46 people come to Christ. And I just believe with all my heart that there's a harvest field here in Hendersonville. And I've been praying for revival. And so I just wanted to say thank you to you guys. And I wanted to pray over y'all for what you're doing and just believing that God's going to start a fire here through these people. And it's just going to spread. So I just wanted to thank you. And I wanted to pray over you guys if that's okay real quick. Okay? Jesus, I just thank you so much for this group that has come to sow seed and to speak life over Henderson County. God, I pray that you would be with them, that you would just anoint them, strengthen them, and help them as they do the work here this week. Father, I pray that they would hear your voice and that they would fulfill the call that you have placed on their lives for such a time as this. God, we pray that this would be the movement. This would be the Vacation Bible School, that we would see sons and daughters born, that we would see lives changed for eternity. God, bless them. I pray that your favor would be upon them, this group, their church, their lives, their relationships. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Dios los bendiga.
Hey, how are you doing? God bless you.
Mi nombre es Oscar Núñez.
My name is Oscar Nunez.
Soy el pastor de la Iglesia Luz de las Naciones acá en Hendersonville.
I'm the pastor of Light to the Nations Church here in Hendersonville.
Estoy muy agradecido con todo lo que los jóvenes han hecho durante todos estos años.
I'm very gracious of what the teenagers have done here over the past so many years.
Ha sido de gran bendición cada año que ellos han venido.
It's been a great blessing every time they've come.
Y estoy agradecido con el pastor Robert.
I'm very gracious towards Robert.
Y con todos los muchachos.
And of all the kids, the teenagers that have come.
Y la semilla que han sembrado aquí en esta comunidad.
And the seed they've planted here in this community.
Yo sé que un día
I know one day
va a crecer.
It's going to grow.
Y muchos jóvenes también van a estarle sirviendo a Dios.
And a lot of teenagers are going to be serving God.
Así que Dios los bendiga.
So God bless you.
Los amamos mucho.
We love you very much.
Y muchas gracias por todo.
And thank you for everything.
Bendiciones.
Blessings.
It was like really cool because we come from like different cultures and we speak different languages, but like we still are worshiping and serving the same God. And I thought that was really cool, especially since we all got to sing that one song together. And just watching like all of you guys and your parents like worship, it was just really cool.
Right now we're walking over here to the bald man on campus. He kind of looks like the leader, but he's not really doing anything right now. Let's see what he has to say. Apparently nothing, not one thing he has to say about anything going on right now. How do we feel about this? I have no idea, so let's just sit here. Maybe he'll say something eventually.
Well, sometimes less is more.
Is that why you have no hair?
Now you have to ask the Lord on that.
That was a pretty valid question. We'll turn to this young lady right here. What is your name?
Allie Hodges.
It's a pretty cool name. And this man has no hair. How do you feel about him having no hair?
I like it because I can see my reflection.
Do you think the kids also like that you have no hair so they can see their reflection too?
Probably so, because, I'm unique. Was the bald head and the shine,
Do you think it helps out with the ice cream sales going on right now?
Probably not, because we're not selling ice cream.
Interesting.
Hi, this is Lynn from the Storehouse in Hendersonville. This is a Christ-centered food and hygiene pantry, and we have been working with Pastor Robert for so many years, I don't even want to tell how many. We serve Henderson County. We started this with 5 little old ladies, 2 volunteers, and my Chevy Astro minivan. And now 22 years later, we are serving hundreds of families.
Riley, what was your favorite part about VBS?
Eating candy.
Eating candy? Did you have good teachers? Did they give you lots of candy?
Yeah.
Nice. What grade are you in, Riley?
First.
You're in first grade. That's awesome. Well, are you excited? You want to come next year to VBS?
Yes.
That's amazing. You had a good time then?
Yes.
All
My
right,
name is Allie.
What's your favorite part of VBS?
My favorite part is learning about how Jesus died on the cross and came back alive.
My name is Aubrey, and my favorite part about VBS is the teachers and music and arts and crafts.
Hello guys, I'm Emma and I like parties.
What's your favorite part about VBS?
I think it's school parties.
Okay, cool.
My favorite part is right now at lunch. My name's Peyton.
And your favorite thing is about VBS?
Jesus died on the cross.
You don't have a favorite thing about VBS?
Everything.
Oh, cool.
Awesome job, Daniel. Thank you very much. Daniel did our video again. Did our camp video and Hendersonville. We're really appreciative. That's one of the best Hendersonville videos we ever had. So thank you for your hard work. And it was a lot of hard work. So awesome trip. And we'll start planning again for the next one in January. So be thinking and praying about that. We'd love to have you be a part of it. Just a few announcements. This Saturday is the lake party at our lake house. So we'd love to see you there. You can arrive anytime after 11:45, and we'll have stuff going all day. You can do whatever you like to do. Just bring a drink and a snack food, and we'll have a cookout during the afternoon. You should have got the address by mail or by text. And then Sunday school this week, we still have our breakfast back. We started last week, and so this week at 9 o'clock, and then classes at 9:35. And then next Wednesday, we will not be in here. we will be at the Bowman's house, at Keaton Bowman's house, like we were last week at the Homs. So it'll be a pool party at the Bowman's next Wednesday night from 6 to 8. So come there Wednesday night, all right? So it's great seeing all of y'all. Thank you for your patience. I know it went long, but it was worth it. So have a great night, and we will see you soon.